When you see an amoeba in pond water, the first thing you notice isn't that it's moving, it's that the shape keeps changing. You look a second later, it's different. 10 seconds later, different again. This isn't an animal, not a plant either, just a single cell. But that cell is doing things. And here's what's strange: it looks like it's moving, but it's not really moving. Not in the way you'd think. No front, no back, no head deciding where to go next. It's not choosing a direction, it's just flowing. You're watching, one side of the membrane bulges out, cytoplasm flows there, and now the amoeba is a bit more in that direction. But this isn't a decision, not a plan, it's just happening. The whole thing is basically a blob of cytoplasm wrapped in a membrane. And the inside isn't the same everywhere. There's a layer near the edges, more gel like, firmer. The center, though, that's more liquid, more fluid. And when the membrane pushes out somewhere, which is wrong to say membranes don't decide things, but that's what it looks like, that liquid part flows there. The bulge grows, becomes a false foot. They call it a pseudopod. False foot. But it's not false at all, really. It's the only foot this thing has. Just temporary. The whole shape is temporary anyway. You could watch an amoeba for half an hour and never see it look the same twice. Like someone's constantly reshaping a water balloon. Except it's not water inside. It's something alive. Most cells aren't like this. Most cells have a definite shape. And they keep it. Organized, structured. There's a logic. This one just exists and responds. Something touches the membrane. Could be a tiny bacterium, could be an algae fragment, and the amoeba flows around it. The membrane curves, folds in on itself, takes what it touched inside. Like a hug. A very slow, very gentle hug. But there's no escape. Now that food is inside. In a little pouch. A food vacuole. No mouth, by the way. No stomach. No digestive organs at all. Just a bubble that didn't exist a few seconds ago with chemical reactions happening inside. The lysosomes inside, little enzyme packets, they notice this new bubble and drift toward it. They merge. When the enzymes get in, that's when the torture begins. Not kidding. The bacterium literally dissolves in there. And the amoeba doesn't even care. When you think about it, this should be slow, inefficient. A system this disorganized should lose to anything with a proper digestive tract. It doesn't lose, it works. Molecules get smaller, nutrients spread into the cytoplasm, dispersing. And the waste that's left? Pushed back out through the membrane. No throwing it in a trash can. You just push it outside and it's not your problem anymore. The whole system depends on the membrane being flexible enough to allow this. And here's the funny part. This works because nothing is fixed. There are mitochondria inside, producing energy. But they're not anchored anywhere. They float around with the cytoplasm. There's a contractile vacuole constantly pumping water out. Otherwise, the cell would pop like a balloon. And it's not fixed either, drifting around inside. Nothing stays in place. Everything's in flow, and this weirdly works. Because to think about it, if your shape changes every second, what's the point of fixed organs? You're pushing out a new false foot. Mitochondria need to go there to produce energy. You're taking in food. Lysosomes need to come there. If everything's dynamic, your parts need to be dynamic too. And the amoeba figured this out. Or didn't figure it out, actually. Just never felt the need to fix things in place. Most cells evolved going, let's organize everything, make it efficient. The amoeba said, whatever. And it's still here. When something challenges the amoeba floating in water, temperature changes, oxygen drops, the system slows down but doesn't stop. Because there's nothing too specialized to stop. Mitochondria working slowly? No problem. Everything's slow anyway. Lysosomes delayed in digestion? The cell's not in a hurry. Nobody's competing in pond water. Olympic level performance is unnecessary. Just surviving is enough. And this structure keeps it alive for hundreds of millions of years. Think about it. Dinosaurs came and went. The amoeba is still here. Ice ages happened. The amoeba is still here. Humans showed up, built cities. The amoeba didn't even notice, just kept drifting in pond water. At some point, you'd expect something to have left this behind. Something faster, something smarter. Didn't happen. Because there's no need to be fast in some places. You just need to not die. And the amoeba is surprisingly good at that. Even its reproduction is lazy. Binary fission. The nucleus splits down the middle, the cytoplasm does too, and now there are two amoebas. No need to find a mate, no romantic dinner, just divide. This is a terrible strategy for genetic diversity, actually. But it hasn't been a problem for the amoeba so far. Maybe it's lucky, maybe it's generalist enough, or maybe the environment changes slowly enough. Whatever it is, it works. And here's the most absurd part. Inside, everything's actually chaotic. Organelles bumping into each other, fluid flowing, membranes folding, vacuoles bursting. From the outside, it looks like there's some order there isn't. Just chemistry. And that chemistry works well enough that the system doesn't collapse. Sometimes I think maybe this isn't what intelligence is. Maybe intelligence isn't trying to control everything. Maybe it's just being flexible enough. Being simple enough that when something breaks, everything doesn't fall apart. The amoeba does this for millions of years, and nobody suggested an upgrade. Nothing needed to be added.